Hi, Dennis. You're a DJ, producer, and remixer that is celebrated across the world for your huge contribution to house music with a career that spans across several decades. During this time, you've maintained that underground pedigree whilst also delivering some huge anthems with your diverse production style. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the House Culture Podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor being here.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
having me.
You're welcome. We want to dig into numerous elements of your career, obviously, but we
hmm
always like to start things off by rolling it back to the beginning. Can you tell us what it was like growing up in the Bronx and how you first kind of discovered music there?
Oh, it was crazy. I grew up in the high bridge section of the Bronx,
Hmm.
and I grew up there in an era where it was called the Bronx is burning.
Hmm.
Um, there were abandoned buildings to my left, abandoned buildings to my right, and music was the only thing that kind of we had to look forward to. It was very depressing,
Mm.
very depressing. But music is what kind of saved our lives. At the time, it was an open format. On one hand, you would hear hip hop.
Hmm.
In another span of, let's say, 6, 7 minutes, you'd hear disco.
Hmm.
And the funny thing was that as time progressed, disco became house. So in one moment you would hear the Far Side, but then the next minute you'd hear the Jungle Brothers,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're like, but see, nobody cared,
Hmm.
and that's the way DJs did it. They mixed in and out of it like nobody's business. It
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
I lived directly across the disco fever.
Hmm.
Um, I lived in the building across the street above the funeral home, and that was a huge catalyst. And believe it or not, I didn't even know that the disco fever was that huge because I was like 11 and 12 years old.
Uh-huh.
And Sal, wouldn't really let us go in there too much, of course,
Uh-huh.
we were little kids, but, I would peep every once in a blue moon. I would peep and act,
Mm.
doing their sound check. And I can't recall who would let us go in or some right next to the candy shop anyway.
Hmm.
So at that time, there were block parties.
Yeah,
DJs would plug into the light poles,
yeah, yeah.
right into the city light poles.
Hmm.
And the police would pass by and we'd all think, oh, they don't see it. But I mean, who plugs in a Server Vega bass band and like 14 Geminis and crown amps, but we didn't have crown, they're like PV amps,
Yeah.
into a light pole
Uh-huh.
and think, yeah, magically no, it's not happening. The cops just left us all alone because they figured, hey, if they're here, they're not causing trouble.
Yeah, 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 totally.
Right.
Hmm.
So the block party was a very big part of us all growing up musically. Especially if you didn't have access to decks, you didn't have access to buying music. I mean, you're talking about a whole minority population that's broke, completely broke.
Yeah,
There's no broke ass. It's just completely broke. They got
yeah.
no money. So we got our entertainment from the street. And so the local DJ, the mobile DJ was a hero.
Mhm.
So, and any time during the summer, you can go one block north. There's a block party and it's rocking. There's like 600 kids in the street, dancing, getting it down. And
Yeah.
then you go 3 blocks to the left, and there would be a party in the rec center,
Hmm. Hmm.
of the projects.
Yeah, yeah.
But somehow these people got the rec center. So it was a concerning time, a distressing time to grow up, but it was also one of the best times of my life.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
to have that kind of, like you say, like that open format and so many different, New York during that time as well, I'd imagine a real kind of melting pot of nationalities, personalities,
Crazy.
music, breadth, everything.
Nobody cared. It we as kids we hardly went downtown, because downtown was a magical place for us.
Yeah.
We dreamed of making it big and getting a job downtown in Manhattan, or just buying something down there.
Yeah.
Taking a trip from the Bronx on the train was like it's like a magical train ride, as a kid. I mean, you can imagine at 14 years old, we're taking mass transit, going to high school, going to, middle school on mass transit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was nothing big, hey, send your 11-year-old kid on mass transit from the Bronx to the tip of my hand to go to his first, freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Nah, no big deal. The kid will come back all right.
Wow.
Nowadays, everybody like, you can't do that, right? Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Uh, so it was a huge melting pot,
Mm.
which was great because musically, it also was like that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you might hear Steve Miller's band, and then you'll hear, Chic, and
Hmm.
then you'll hear Run DMC,
Yeah.
all in the same party,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everybody would be getting down. And so my sense of musicality comes from that.
Mm.
I'm lucky to have been exposed to that. Because
Yeah.
if you're exposed to one thing, you just kind of, I call it, you're kind of bland. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
you, you kind of,
absolutely.
you're kind of bland.
Hmm.
Expose yourself to other things.
Hmm.
Open up your mind, like they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my experience,
Yeah.
and that's my playing style. That's where my playing style comes from.
Absolutely, and we'll dig more into that kind of
Mhm.
diversity of all the stuff that you've done over your career as well.
Mhm.
Where was the moment where you kind of looked at, like you said, these heroes of the local scene? Were you looking at those and they were inspiring to you in terms of, I want to be that guy, or I want to make stuff that they're going to play, or was there another career path that you had in mind before any of that?
Look, I was never inspired by any particular person.
Hmm.
What inspired me was music.
Hmm.
Um, since I was young, I can remember wanting to play with a piano. My parents bought me a small Fisher Price little piano to play with when I was like 4 or 5. And I remember that fondly.
Yeah.
And I remember that's where it started.
Hmm.
I never looked at any particular person and say, I want to be like that person.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to be like you. No,
Yeah.
I'm me.
Yeah.
I want to do this. It's a difference between saying, I want to do this or I want to be like you. I
Hmm.
never was that. I want to do that. I want to do what that person's doing.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Yeah.
different mindset.
Uh-huh.
So for me, I want to do what that person's doing. I want to be where that person is
Yeah.
and higher.
Yeah.
And that was my mentality. And it's always been, still is to this day.
Well, and it's got you to where you are, you know what I mean? And giving you that longevity. Talk to me about, you know, getting a big break, or getting your first few tracks heard by someone, or, those types of things when in the early on in your career, when you look
Mm.
back, what were those moments for you?
Stressful, scary. Um, it was stressful because it's the unknown. Am I
Mm.
good enough? You know, it was crazy because you buy a couple of pieces of equipment and you make some demos in your home
Hmm.
studio,
Hmm.
and you have to humble yourself. You have to say, hey, does this record match the record that I like and that everybody's dancing to? It's not, there's an artistic form to this, yes, an artistic part to this, but also my part is I want my record to be liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is art for me. It is a release, but part of that art for me is making you dance.
Hmm.
If my music doesn't make you dance, then it's not art for me. So I was always worried about that. And to this day, that's what worries me. That's why I always say you shouldn't release everything you make. So at that point in time, I was scared. I was like, okay, am I good enough? Are my records good enough?
Yeah.
So I kind of lied to get my first deal. And I won't name names, but yeah, it's signed by somebody else. Don't worry about it. It's a great. They gave me tons of money, and it was like, really? Okay, we'll give you this then for it. I was like, sure, here you go.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I thought. That's when I thought, oh, I am good enough. I
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even though I told that little fib to
Hmm.
get me in the door, basically, my music spoke,
Yeah.
and so it was stressful.
Hmm.
It's still stressful.
Yeah.
Every day is stressful. The hustle never stops.
Hmm.
You're always hustling. There's some people who really do it for the art and they don't care whether they get it signed, and it's sort of a release, sort of like therapy for them.
Hmm.
And there's other people who live for the action, who live for the I want to make everybody dance part of it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
this record ain't making you dance, then it's shit. I don't want to put it out. I'm one of those people.
Yeah. And you mentioned there as well about advising to put everything out that you create. I mean, that must be quite daunting as well. You must have that filter in terms of we've spoken to so many DJs and producers on this show, and the problem that some people, or the hump that some people come up against, is knowing when something is finished and trying to perfect it
Mm.
too much. And it's like perfection almost doesn't exist. You have to have a shutdown and be like, it's time for this to go out. Talk to me about your process. It sounds like you're quite good in
I'm
that
highly
sense.
critical.
Mm.
I've got hundreds of records on my hard drive that will never see the light of day. I was told to control my inner cheesiness a long time ago when I first started in this career, because we all have an inner cheese,
Mm. Hmm.
you know? And whether you believe it or not, we do. And the trick is to control it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the trick. That's what I tell people. The trick is to control it, and I learned how to control it. And every so often it'll peep its head out, but you've got to say, okay, D, you might have went a little too far this time. But that's part of the creative process
Mm.
also, because if you don't try these things, if you don't push the boundaries of what's cool,
Yeah.
what's considered cool, then how can you make cool?
Hmm. Yeah.
One does not know it's cool till it's cool. You
Absolutely.
don't.
Yeah.
So if you don't push the boundary, how do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I push the boundary. I've always done it. I've said, will I get away with this? I don't know. And then, you hear it, you might hear it the first time and go, huh. But then the second time you go, huh. And the third time is like, I like that record. And see,
Hmm.
so I got you.
Yeah.
I pushed the boundary and it worked.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't work all the time. And sometimes you have to have some friends whose ears you really trust,
Hmm.
and you use them to bounce the record off.
Yeah.
And you say, yo, what do you think about this? You have the yes people around you. That's never going to work for you.
Hmm.
So you need somebody who'll tell you the truth. It'll be like, what were you freaking thinking? And even then, you have to weigh that also,
Yeah.
because not everybody likes everything you make.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So it's sort of like you, you have to be daring, but at the same time, be humble and sensible. And that's a very tough tightrope to master.
Yeah. Especially in an
And
environment where you can be getting a lot of adulation, you can kind of go
yeah,
down that path of
you
feeding too
can
much
lose
into
it.
that. Yeah.
See, but I was never into adulation per
Hmm.
se.
Hmm.
Um, I was more into whether you liked the record and it meant something to you.
Yeah.
See, that's different. I don't like adulation. I've never liked it.
Yeah.
I don't chase that.
Hmm.
I chase approval, a different thing.
Hmm.
We all have our faults, I'd like to say, but that's what makes me me. That's what makes you you. That's what makes everybody different as an artist.
Hmm.
So for me, it's approval.
Yeah.
And the way I look at approval is, did you dance? Did you throw your hands in the air at that moment where you're supposed to? When that chorus comes on, did you go, that's my thing, that's my jam, oh my God. Hey, we got married to this record. We met with this record. And when people come up to me and they say, D, you changed my life because this record did this and I was in a bad place and it
Yeah.
meant something to me. See, that's not adulation for me. That's approval. That means what I made was right.
Mm-hmm.
How I felt at that time was right, and I got it right.
Yeah.
And I made everybody kind of be in that room at the same time with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
way different. It's a bit narcissistic, but we're all narcissists in the music industry. But that's how I get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of like scaling back to those early years in your career, at what moment really did you start to realize that this is a this is there's something here. I'm good at what I do. I can, you know, I'm getting good gigs. I'm getting recognized locally in my own scene. I'm producing good records that are getting played by people that I respect.
Mm.
When was that? In your early on in your career, what was going on then?
Well, it's a process. It's one nobody teaches you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through it. I like to say that making good records is a learned behavior. If you allow yourself to be humble, if you think you are the shit, you're making a mistake until a certain point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Until a certain point. So it started out, let's say, for example, when I did Sandcastles with Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I had been doing a lot of soulful records, and I was on Large, and they were moving. I saw that they were making their rounds in the club, but your confidence isn't that high. It depends who you are,
Mm-hmm.
But my confidence was like, okay, I think I can do this. I'm making decent records.
Mm-hmm.
But what took it over the top was Jerome said, hey, you used to do techno records, which I did. I was a
Mm-hmm.
techno artist before I was a house artist.
Yeah.
And he says, we're going to go back to that. You need to revisit that. And I'm like, Jay, I don't want to do that. I came from that already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it. He goes, D, you have to. If you want to go forward, this is the way you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So I started working on Sandcastles, right? Jerome used to live above me at that time. And we both hammered it out.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, this is a great record. I wrote the string part and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm like, this is amazing. So I'm playing the large party that year at WMC.
Mm-hmm.
And I decide I want to play it. You gotta remember, this is all soulful, like super soulful, Roy Davis Jr. records,
Yeah.
Ron Trent. This is super soulful. Nobody's playing techno. Nobody's playing tech house. Nobody's doing any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I decide to play it. And every big DJ, like DJs I admire, were there. And I play it and they all look at me like I'm absolutely nuts. Like, what is he playing?
Yeah.
Come back to the hotel and I'm upset. I'm really upset.
Mm.
I talked to Jerome. I said, I told you we was wrong. I told you we was wrong. I told you. And I'm arguing with him. And he goes, Dennis, relax. They just don't get it, but they will. Give it some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, muttering under my breath, right? Bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. So fast forward a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, the record's out. And I go up into the shelter with Jovan. And the crowd is roaring. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, Jay, I recognize this record. What is this? Jovan looks at me. It's your record, you ass. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, oh, shit. And Timmy Registered is rocking it. And it's like a shelter anthem.
Mm.
And then I go, in my head, I start thinking, I'm like, and I smile and I go, damn, Jerome was right.
Mm.
So what was the difference here?
Yeah.
Oh, I was early. They just didn't get it right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. Because if the record is dope, you throw it against the wall and see if it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control everything else.
Yeah.
You can't control how it's going to be received. But if it's dope and it measures up against anything else you've done and people are doing at the time, or it's better, then chill out, shut up, and watch. And
Yeah.
Jerome taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, so I can take chances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can be weird,
Mm-hmm.
take a chance, and throw it up against the wall.
Yeah.
Within reason. You got to be weird within reason. You
Yeah.
still got to have a hump in it. You still got to be like, oh, right. But you
Uh-huh.
can go a little off the exit and then catch the next entrance back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the pivotal moment in my career. And that's why I tell everybody, I says, Jerome, I owe my career really to Jerome Sydenham
Mm-hmm.
and Kerry Chandler.
Yeah.
More, I would say equally, but Jerome really, really taught me arrangement and taught me a lot that you can't you can't talk to, it's not a teachable moment per se.
Yeah.
You have to experience these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the pivotal moment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then I was okay. I was okay to be weird. Y'all just won't get it right away. But don't worry, because 3 to 4 months later, I'm going to have the last laugh. And I always went that attacking a record that way.
Yeah.
I says, all right, y'all look at me twisted now, but give it 6 months and see where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's like you said at the top as well, like about it being cool, but you're invested in it and you know it's good. It's just no one else does yet. And it's like, for something to be cool, it has to be singular at some point, and then everyone else gets on board with that. And that's
Can't follow. You're
no.
just chasing the tail at that point.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an artist, you can't follow a trend.
Yeah.
You can't, just because there was a rolling track, you can't follow what somebody else did. I mean, you can't out Blaze. You can't out MAW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So you just got to do you.
Yeah. Totally. And in terms of, other big tracks in your career as well that have really kind of put you on the map, obviously I want to talk about Hey Hey, and, I remember reading an interview with you, and the background of that was that you wanted to create something anthemic
Mm-hmm.
for that particular track. I mean, beyond trying to create an anthem specifically, where did the inspiration for that tune specifically come from, and how did it come together in the studio for you?
If you look at the track record that I have, most of my choruses are kind of like, they're, I wouldn't say anthemic, but they're like sing-alongs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sing-along kind of person. I grew up with Chic. I grew up with songs, songs that you want to sing.
Yeah.
So I want to write songs like that, songs that you remember,
Mm-hmm.
choruses that you remember. And it took work to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why the majors used to laugh at us, because we wrote cheesy lyrics. So I always thought of house when I doing it. It's not house. I'm writing a song.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens to be in house.
Yeah.
So as I learned how to write lyrically better, well, the songs progressed.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to Hey Hey, I had it pretty much down pat.
Yeah.
It had been moving up that way, slowly. I was getting better lyrically.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all came together. It's like you get this moment as an artist where it just goes, the light bulb goes up, bing,
Mm-hmm.
and you go, oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And that can't be taught. Again, that's something you experience over time,
Mm-hmm.
and by trial and error,
Yeah.
and by catching your mistakes and listening to the records that you made and go, damn, I botched that. That was cheesy. How can I get better?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So lyrically, I started listening to old 70s records, and listening to like the Doobie Brothers or Michael McDonald,
Yeah.
I always said, listen, man, his lyrics were outrageous. So why can't we write like that in dance music? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with us? Why are we always cheesy? I love you. You left me. I can't stand that cheesy shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want a song. Let me sing a song. You know, how about Chic? How about, Rick James? How about Prince? They wrote songs,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to write meaningful lyrics, and I came to Hey Hey, and that's when it all came together. And I felt it was a sing along,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want to make it so obvious. So it's really a sad song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a happy song,
Mm-hmm.
but the way I did the chorus is a happy sing along song.
Mm-hmm.
Most people go, "Oh, I heard you say, hey, hey." But the context, it's a sad song.
Yeah.
So most of the time, when you listen to an artist, you know what they're going through. You know where they're at in a moment of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the most part, when you hear my songs, or for that matter, any artist, you're living through their time.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right. Yeah.
You're living vicariously through them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was Hey Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of the vocalist on it, how did you,
Chingy.
yeah, how did you land on her? Were you thinking about doing it yourself, or were you trialing other vocalists? Like, how did that journey happen?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm in the background singing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to I used to want to sing, but God didn't bless me that way.
I know that feeling. Don't worry.
Well, I did I'm the one singing "You Don't Know" on Son of Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks it's somebody else, but that's me singing "You Don't Know" on Son of Raw. But what happened is I had a couple of throat surgeries,
Mm-hmm.
and that robbed me of the voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I could only do the backgrounds in it. And so Shingi was with her band at the time.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, she was coming into New York for a shoot, for a photo shoot. And she had time off. From what I gather, she was working on a solo project.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, sure, if you got the time, I got the time. And it was a work for hire.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, it's a house song. It's not. Mercury was like, well, just don't use her name anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was, she had the band,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so can't mess that up.
Yeah.
So they were like, she gets to write, she can get writer credit, she can get credit for singing it, whatever, but she can't appear anywhere. So I tried, okay, can we put her up featuring Miss Noise?
Yeah.
They were like, nah. Mercury was like, nah. So I was like, okay, straight up work for hire. Nobody knows,
Yeah.
The vocalist is Shingi Shuniwe if you look at the fine print,
Yep.
but you got to look at the fine print. Because people say, how come she didn't get credit? Well, I mean, we had to seek permission. We didn't seek permission directly with her only. We also sought Mercury's permission because she had an album out and it was a band.
Yeah.
So to clarify, this wasn't on me.
Mm-hmm.
This is on Mercury. Well, everybody agreed to it, and it just had to come out as Dennis Ferrer.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, hey.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's just a dance record. It ain't really going to blow up. Whatever. And I'm sure Mercury thought the same thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Shingy thought, yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And we all were like, okay, work for hire, all good. Her name doesn't appear anywhere. I fought to give her credit. I was like, okay, let's come up with a different name, Miss Noise. Yeah. No. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Record comes out, she sings it, and it blows the hell up.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do? I've always liked quirky vocalists, so for me, that record worked perfect with her.
Yeah.
Nobody else could have sung that record like she did.
No.
Nobody.
There's a real...
Nobody. I'll go on record. Nobody could sing that song like Shingy did.
Yeah. It's got a real attitude to it as well. Yeah. I love it.
She gets props for that, 100%.
Yeah. It's so good. I mean, at what moment, like, obviously it blew up, but at what moment before or after, did you know that you've got something big on your hands? Was it something in the studio that happened, or was it the reaction to it that made you realize you had something big?
I knew that right away. You know it. If once you've done enough of these, Because I had a few up to that point, not as big as Hey Hey,
Yeah.
but I had a few popular ones. Touch the Sky, How Do I Let Go, Precious Love,
Yeah.
Sandcastles. I mean, we can go on. And I was like, I'm, because I'm singing it. When the doors are closed, if you're an artist and you're like in the studio like this, and when somebody walks in, you're like, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I wasn't dancing. No, I'm not doing anything. You know it, right? But my daughter walked in and she asked me, Daddy, what are you working on? And I think she was like 6 years old at the time. And I go, well, I'm working on this song, sweetie. You want to hear it? She goes, yeah. She sits on my lap and I play it for her. She goes, and I go, is that nice? She goes, yes. And she leaves. She doesn't say anything about it. She says, okay, Daddy, I'll see you later. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it ain't for her anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I work in the studio a little longer. When I come inside the house, she's running around the house, skipping around the house, going, hey, 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 hey. I was like, oh, here we go. Was that car I wanted?
I've nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Bank
man.
account's getting ready to hit 777s. Like a lottery, like a freaking slot machine. So that's when I knew.
Yeah.
It was just a matter whether people were going to get it, because again, it wasn't a soulful record, and we were soulful at that time. So I was taking a big chance, doing a little bit different, like I always do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if I do a little techie to this, am I pushing it? Screw it. And so, I was a techno artist way before house. And, I grew up listening to Carl Craig, Mundo Music, Joey Beltram. I mean, my partner for a while, I did an album with Damon Wild, called Morph on Beachwood Music, which was full on techno / ambient. And my mentor when I was younger was Tetsu Inui, who was basically an ambient king. Tetsu, wherever you are in the world, I love you. Nobody knows where you're at for the past 15 years, and I hope you're good. I had to throw that side note there.
Yeah. Keep it
and
in,
he
definitely.
worked a lot with Peter Namlook and Data Side and stuff. And so I came from that.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of Carl's records, and he did this record called Sandstorm, which used white noise in it. And I know how he did it, of course. It's just freaking white noise, but I thought it was cool. I says, yo, but what if we put in a soulful record? So I was inspired by that. So I always still said, Carl, sorry. I always say that in interviews. And so I did that as the idea, as like, but I used it as a percussive element, right? And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter whether people were going to understand it right away.
Yeah.
But it was so whacked out at that time. It was whacked. It was whacked out that people were like, "What the fuck is that?" You were like, "Wait, what? What is that?"
Yeah.
And then the chorus came in, and you were like, "Oh wow, that's cool."
Yeah.
It was a really simple song. It wasn't a lot in it.
Yeah.
It just worked.
Yeah.
And those songs, it's a learned behavior. But you can also unlearn it.
Yeah, totally. It originally came out on Objectivity, which is obviously your label, and it made its way to Defected as well. And obviously, we've spoken to Simon Dunmore on this podcast, and he had things to say about it as well. When you're releasing your own music on your own label, and it does make its way to another label that you're licensing it to, or going to release it on your behalf or whatever, what's that kind of relationship like? Do you feel like you've lost an element of control, or do you I'm just happy for it to go even bigger?
No, see, that's what everybody gets wrong. That's where your artist ego comes in. The whole point to this is, if you can't exploit it properly yourself, then what's the point?
Yeah.
This is called the exploitation business. It's not called the sharing business. That's what everybody gets wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I allow you to exploit me for a certain amount that I get back.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a mutual agreement among everybody that, hey, it's profitable if I allow this to happen. Because if I can't exploit myself and exploit this record, then what does it do? It just sits there.
Yeah.
So that's bad business on my part.
Mm-hmm.
And it all begins with me because I am the owner of this record. I am the owner of the label. I own the license to it. That would be bad business on my part if I didn't look for opportunities of exploitation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a mutual handshake agreement where I agree to say, I can't, it's basically admitting to yourself, I can't do the job that this record deserves to have done to it.
Yeah. And taking your
And it's
ego out
knowing
of that.
that
Yeah.
you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing that it's not your forte, that someone is better than you doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it for a reasonable return, for a reasonable ROI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Say, okay, I give this up. They get that, but I get this out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets legs.
Yeah.
Defected will always be the best choice for that record.
Mm-hmm.
Always would have been.
Yeah.
Always, no matter what anybody says. They still do it. But Simon had his finger on the pulse of what was happening.
Yeah.
Nobody could have did that. Everybody thinks they can, but nah. No.
Yeah.
No. Only Simon, only Defected could have did that. And,
Yeah.
and they did it. And they did.
Yeah.
And so as an independent artist, an independent label owner, you have to realize, hey, what are my options in exploitation?
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about the business part of this. They get their feelings caught up in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once that record leaves the studio, your feelings are out of the equation. It's business.
Mm-hmm.
How many times it's been remixed? I don't care. Why should I?
Yeah. Yeah.
My point has already been made, right?
Mm-hmm.
After this, it's just a check.
Yeah. I mean, it's so refreshing to hear it like that as well, in terms of like actually looking at it, to be successful, you do have to have like a business head about this and take your ego out of it to make a living.
Yes.
You have to, sometimes balance those two together. And I mean, you mentioned remixes. Obviously, it's been remixed loads and loads of times. We spoke to Reva Starr on this podcast recently as well, and obviously he's had a hand in remixing it recently. And there's,
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome, and
it's exploitation. It's being exploited. It's actually what it's supposed to be as a record label. That's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
See, I learned to take my artist hat off.
Mm-hmm.
Once my version was done,
yeah,
and I've said what I had to say with that version,
mm-hmm.
it's out of my hands. It's out of my control. That was the point.
Yeah.
Your label is your control. That is your it's your speaker. It's your voice.
Yeah.
And once you can't exploit it and you give it away, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're so
Your voice, you still got your voice. It's still an objectivity record, the original.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm happy. As an artist, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
It's reached different people, all types of people with all the different remixes. Why wouldn't I be happy about that? Why would I try to stop? Why would I want only cool people remixing my record? That makes no sense. Yeah. You're just rehashing the same market. It's squirrels trying to get a nut in the same bucket.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 nuts in that bucket. Like, dude, like really? No. The more you exploit it, the more crowd reach you've got.
Yeah.
The better off it is. The more people hear about you.
Mm-hmm.
So it benefited me.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like you say, I've seen like cover versions of it by the techno
Mute.
marching band Mute. Yes, insane.
It was insane.
So good. So
we did a concert with it. It was like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 people, some kind of crazy thing like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? Is that a stadium or something? Like, what? They doing? Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been hit up by them either.
Go make it happen.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. In terms of remixing as well, in terms of your
Mhm,
career, the big remix that everyone can think of, like top of mind, is always the Cure and the Cause, the Fish Go Deep.
mhm,
Like your version of that, it's like it's become like the definitive version, compared to the
mhm.
original, in the opinion of like dance floors across the world. And when you listen to the original, the direction that you've taken it in is more like a haunting, deeper version,
Mhm.
I find. How did that track come into your orbit, and what were you thinking and feeling when you were putting that version together?
Well, my I have to be diplomatic here.
Okay.
Uh,
If you
put me
say
in the spot.
something wrong, we can always edit it out, so don't
No,
worry.
no, it's just not, I never say anything wrong. I
Mm.
say what I feel,
Hmm.
but sometimes what I say, how I feel, is not appropriate.
Diplomatically put.
Um, it's the truth, though. I don't
Uh-huh.
lie. It's the truth. It might just not. It might hurt feelings.
Yeah.
Um, the way I approach remixes is that I want my version to be the original.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is just me, and this is the way my train of thought goes. It might be a New York train of thought, ghetto thing, but my thing is, this is how you should have did your record, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because making music and records is mathematical, believe it or not. It's logic based.
Hmm.
There are only so many combinations that are going to work with a vocal. Let me see if you've exhausted all those combinations,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I go through, even with my own records when I'm making them, when I finish a record, it's practically the last combination that's going to sound good.
Hmm.
Sure, you can remix it, but it's hard to beat the originals
Yeah.
because I've exhausted every possible combination. So now I'm going to your record,
Hmm.
I'm getting your vocal and saying, I know the original. Was it the best available combination?
Hmm.
So I go through it almost logically in my head. That doesn't work. That won't work. That combo won't work. That won't work. This won't work. They missed this. Let me show you how you should have did your record.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a mean thing to say, but hey, whatever motivates you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you wouldn't do it
That's what
if you weren't
motivates you.
thinking that. You're not putting your whole self into doing that.
That's right.
Hmm.
So now that's why I don't remix good records.
Hmm.
You get it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remix hit records or good records. Why? Because that's the best possible combination. They nailed it.
Hmm.
So why do I want to do that?
Yeah.
I'm fucked if I do it, and I'm fucked if I don't.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's no upside to remixing this record. I don't gain anything. If I do a great job, hey, I was supposed to. If I don't, uh, you messed that one up.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. So that's always been my rule. Don't remix a hit record or a record I think no that you did as an artist, you did the best combination to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like fixing records. That's what a remixer is supposed to do. A remixer is supposed to fix a record. Give me the record you think could be better,
Hmm.
could be fixed.
Yeah.
You spent money on this record, send it to me. I'll fix it. You make more money. I don't want to remix a good record. There's no point to that.
Yeah.
I've always believed in that. Remixing is for fixing bad records.
Mm.
That's just my belief, and that's my personal opinion.
Yeah. And when these things are coming into your orbit, are you, um, how much freedom are you getting in terms of remixing up? Is it sometimes people very prescriptive in terms of what they want you to do? Or are they just like, you know what you're doing, D? Just
Figure
get
it
on
out.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, just get on with it.
Hmm.
Just get on with it, and let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't guarantee anything.
Hmm.
Like I said, I'm just trying to find the best combo. It's not. I don't promise anything special. I just can promise that I've tried every possible combination, and if it doesn't work, then the original was the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I'm going through this in a logical manner.
Mm-hmm.
It's not egotistical. It's not a chip on my shoulder. No, I'm just trying to find the best combination. When I find it and you missed it, it's not my fault you missed it. Sorry. I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Making these records is part luck.
Mm.
It just is. It's part luck. You come across a certain progression that works for it, and you go, oh, certain drum combination, you go, oh, it's like happy mistakes. It's constant happy mistakes.
Yeah.
Things you just have to match the skill level with the happy mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I tell people. You can say, oh, like I did in an interview a long time ago, you have artists who say, oh, when the suns and the planets align, and, I do these records on a purple moon on a Thursday every quarter. No, man, like, come on, man. Come on, man. No. Dance music, bro. Come on. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me something you don't want to know. Sorry.
Brilliant. I do want to talk to you as well about, before we put the mics on, I kind of gave you the rundown of where we're going to go with the chat, and like we want to talk about your energy behind the decks. It's like so unique and infectious, and it's full of personality. It's like we're either up there with you or you're on the dance floor alongside us. I mean, it just is.
But isn't it supposed to be that way? Isn't it a grand party?
Yeah.
Isn't it a celebration of life?
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is what I don't understand about people. Look, it's a job, right? But you don't pay me to play your party. You pay me to travel.
Yeah.
Right? So why so serious? The serious part is back at the hotel. The serious part is on the plane. The serious part is when I come home and I complain to my wife. And she's like, don't worry, baby. It'll be okay. You're back out next week. Shit, fuck. Right? But for those 2 hours, look, I wasn't like that always.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have my moments where I tried to be serious. And it goes back to the story I always say about Shay Damier.
Mm-hmm.
And he set me straight. He set this dude straight. We had our party in Amsterdam, objectivity party at Haven Winter. I can never pronounce it. It's in a Dutch name.
Yeah.
Houshaven, that's it. Houshaven. And I was feeling crappy. I wasn't feeling well. And I was giving off that energy. Mm-hmm. I was just to some people, I was being a normal DJ, just looking at the decks, normal and standing still. And God bless people who actually are serious, because that's who you are. I can't, there's no fault in that. That's who you are. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, people, they take that craft very seriously, and that's how they act. But for me, I'm not like that. And I'll tell you why. I was feeling crappy, and I'm giving off a vibe. And Shay comes next to me. He goes in my ear, and he says, D, why are you making them pay? The fuck this guy just tell me? Like, what? Mm. Come again? Like, huh? Mm-hmm. That's what I said in my head. But I just looked at him like wide-eyed, like, huh? But in my head, I was like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And Shay goes, they don't care how you feel. Mm-hmm. And I looked at him and I went, huh? Turn the frown upside down. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the moment I got it. Mm-hmm. I got it. I went, yo, he's right. Mm-hmm. And he turned my whole life around with that statement. Yeah. And I always say, Shay Damier changed my life and my career based on that.
Wow.
I took that to heart. Mm-hmm. Because it's the truth.
Yeah.
You broke up with your boyfriend, girlfriend. You're there to forget. You came to celebrate the birth. You came to celebrate your graduation. You came to celebrate a new job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You came to hang out with your friends that you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I am in the entertainment business. We are in the entertainment business to fucking entertain.
Mm-hmm.
Smile. You're getting paid a hell of a lot of money to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go up there and have a great time. Show that you're having a great time. You have to. They're celebrating. Celebrate with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have a life and a job that people can only dream of. You should be celebrating every time you get on those decks because they allow you to eat.
Yeah.
They pay your rent. They pay your mortgage. They pay everything you own in your life. It's because of the people that are dancing in front of you. Not because of you, not because you're a cool artist, not because you made amazing records. No, because the fans. They are the ones that allow that. So respect it. Celebrate with them.
Yeah. Recognize it.
That's what I learned.
Yeah. Awesome. And in terms of, when you are playing, what's the kind of perfect set length for you? So, like, what do you prefer? Do you something epic over 4 hours or something, or do you like short bursts? How does that work for you?
Everybody's different, Some people really love to play forever.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do 10 hours, 12 hours, 8 hours, 9
Mm-hmm.
hours. I was always a producer first. I came into DJing and loving DJing after I started making records.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I have a different mentality regarding this. My mentality is more like, here's a show. I'm going to give you the best that I can within this time frame. And I want you leaving saying, wow, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that's 2 or 4 hours or 6 hours, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is at the end, you said I had fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would I like to do a 10-hour set? That's a lot of work. I mean, I've done it I did it a long, long time ago. When we used to do Japan, you never did anything less than an 8-hour, 6-hour set, whatever.
Yeah.
And those were brutal. I don't see why somebody does a 24 hours, 48 hour, 32 hour. God bless you guys. I'm not that dude. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
Now, maybe in my younger days where we're drinking a lot of bottles of tequila and we're on the beach and it's rocking and it's 15th. Yeah, we'll play all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes I like it short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
3 hours. I think 3 hours is perfect for me.
Yeah. Happy middle ground.
Cool. Middle ground.
Nice. I mean, I could keep chatting to you for ages, but we are at the point now where we're at the we're going to talk about your choices for our perfect playlist. So this is the House Culture Perfect playlist. It's available on Spotify. Every single guest on the podcast so far. You're going to be episode 75.
Jesus.
Yeah, they've contributed to this list, so it's absolutely vast. This playlist on Spotify now, and there's always 5 themes. And this is a unique one for me because usually I get sight of the tracks beforehand. So I'm kind of excited in a way for you to just pepper me with your choices. And hopefully I recognize what you're talking about on some of them.
They're easy.
We're here all for some obscurities, left field choices, big anthems, stuff that everyone knows.
Remember, I'm the producer guy, so I really knowing shit.
Cool, man. So we always start off with a catalyst. So a tune that opened your ears to house music, dance music, electronic music. What have you chosen and why?
I'm from the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Planet Rock.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I don't think anyone's put that in there yet either. So yeah,
hands down, Planet Rock.
Mm-hmm.
When we first heard that record, whoa, we were like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like hip hop, techno.
Yeah.
Wait, what is it? We couldn't define it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, wait, but it's using synths and oh. And then it went into looking for the perfect beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. But I would say Planet Rock
mm-hmm.
was the first one. But my favorite really is Play at Your Own Risk.
Okay. Yeah.
By the same crew.
Yeah.
But it's play at the Johnson crew, I think, is Play at Your Own Risk.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was more of a song versus Planet Rock. So Planet Rock was the first one I was exposed to, but Play at Your Own Risk was more the song that I was attracted to.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's a toss up.
I tell you
I
what,
don't know.
I have said that I don't think anyone's put Planet Rock in, but now I'm questioning myself. I need to check. But if that's not in there, we can do the second one. Yeah.
Play at your own risk,
Mm-hmm.
bro.
Mm-hmm.
Play at your own risk. Yeah. Play. That's the one.
That's the one. We'll put that one in.
Play at your
Um,
own.
okay, so a floor filler. Do you have? And there's different definitions of this when from people we've spoken to. Because is a floor filler the big track you drop when everyone's on the dance floor, or is the floor filler the one that changes the dance floor? It encourages people to get onto the dance floor. You know, maybe it's got a bit of a different groove from what's been going on.
That's a tough thing because are we talking classic? Are we talking modern?
It's
You know, a modern one isn't necessarily a classic, so it's not something you can necessarily say that it'd be valid if you hear this podcast freaking like 5, 6 years from now.
mm,
There's no guarantee that this song it's valid now.
yeah.
It's
It's
valid this year.
whatever pops into your head. When you read that theme, what had popped into your head?
That's a tough one because if you say modern, then I'll go with classy. I'll go with I can't pronounce his name. It's Drax and Compile. I think it
Okay,
is
I don't know if I know that.
Compile and Drax Classy, which is it's kind of a Spanishy rolling record.
Uh huh.
It's kind of a now record.
Yeah.
You can play that and the floor fills up like in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll go with modern.
Yeah. Okay.
A modern floor filler
Yeah.
because the classics everyone's already heard this.
Mm-hmm.
No, what are you gonna say, lady? Or are you gonna say Stardust?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, everybody says it.
Yeah.
This so many old classics that you could say will fill the dance floor. What? You know, no, but Ray won't. No, like I'll give
Yeah.
a modern record that works right now. Floor filler is classy by Compile and Tracks.
Cool. Yeah. I'll check it out. A sunsetter, something to soundtrack a perfect sunset.
Again, if we were going old, I would say like Sunshine Black Science Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going, you know, that's a beautiful record.
Yeah.
Sunshine,
Mm-hmm.
sun, you know. But if we're talking modern, it'd probably be Deep Root Tribe, Savior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll be your savior.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty record. That's always a pretty sunset or sundown kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'll go with modern.
Okay.
We can talk all day about classics, but
Yeah.
but modern. I'll stick with the modern thing
Yeah.
here.
Good. Good. Okay. A tearjerker. This doesn't have to be dance music. Something that will fill you with emotion every time you hear it.
It's got to be my own record. How do I let go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my tearjerker.
Yeah.
I can't play that record without tearing up.
Oh man. Yeah.
I can't. It's impossible. If you see gigs and I play it, 90% of the time you see tears in my eyes. Like I've had to turn around while I'm DJing in order to hide the fact that I'm crying.
Yeah.
That one hurts.
Yeah.
It was written for a friend who passed. It was Carlin who passed away, KT Brooks,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote it for him. And yeah, I mean, if you listen to it, you know, how do I let go?
Yeah.
You know, it's a tearjerker.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up.
No, it's good that music can do this to you, and it still
Yeah,
has that resonance with you. It's
it does. Definitely does.
thanks for telling us that. Okay, our last tune. Crowd are asking for one more. What do you
Okay.
play?
Crowd asking for one more. Come on, do I really have to say this? You already know what it's going to be. And I refuse to play it sometimes.
Well, I mean, this is kind of was maybe leading into this question, like the pressure. I'm assuming we're talking about Hey Hey, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I refused to play it early on in my career
Mm-hmm.
because I was more embarrassed because it was not because it was big, but because I don't really particularly like playing my own records too much.
Mm-hmm.
Most artists really don't that I know because there's so many other good records. You've heard this record 10,000 times. You're like, I'm sick of it. Can I play somebody else's record?
Uh-huh.
But as the years went on, I realized what it meant to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I realized that by it meaning something to people, it meant something to me.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So then I respected that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'll play it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said before, turn the frown upside down.
Uh-huh. Got to entertain. Yeah.
So it means something to you. I should respect that.
Yeah.
And just because of that, it means something to me. And I've realized that. I didn't before. As you grow in this business, it's a constant learning experience. You learn about yourself, you learn about people, you learn about business. And, something I learned about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only you. It's not only you as an artist.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole world is happening in front of your face, and you're like a side note. We live a fantasy life. So for a moment, every now and then, you might want to take your own head out of your ass.
Check yourself. Yeah.
That's right.
Uh-huh. Cool. I mean, that was the final tune. We've got one final question that we always ask at the end of the podcast, is that this is the House Culture podcast and we are house culture. And obviously we're not only interested in the music. It's about the scene and the whole cultural movement of house music, dance music. And when you, Dennis, think about house as a movement and a culture, what are the main things that surface in your mind about this scene and what it means to you?
See, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's given me everything. It's a lifestyle. It's not something you just do. It's something you live. That's all. That's all and everything. It's not something you do. It's something you live. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm thankful. And every day, it's just, what are you going to say? There's some people who get in this and just do it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I live this life. We live this life. Serious. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great place to end. Let's wrap it up there. Thank you so much for taking
You're very
part.
welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
No, it's been our honor also. No, thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Take care, man.
Cool. Right. I'll stop recording now.